Leafs are a team that, of course, a lot of Canadians love to hate, but regardless of where your loyalty lies in the hockey world, you cannot deny that right now they've got some pretty exciting young talent.
We're talking Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, and in his new book, Gare, Joyce looks at the squad and why this is an exciting time for one of the NHL's oldest and most storied franchises. It's called Young Leafs, the Making of a New Hockey History, and Gare Joyce joins us now.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, let's start with this book in terms of, I think a lot of hockey books, they kind of capture eras, right? Like the 1970 Montreal Canadiens, when it's all said and done.
Right.
How difficult was this project, or different, I guess, writing about a team that's, you know, in the moment developing?
A lot of hockey books are historical books. This is about a history that's unfolding and a future that people are looking forward to. I think what I wanted to do, though, is capture the face of hockey circa 2017. You see on this team a player from, in Austin Matthews, a player from the Sun Belt. You see in Mitch Marner a product of the hockey machine that you have in the GTHL, the Greater Toronto Hockey League. In William Nylander, you have a player who grew up around NHL dressing rooms, a legacy. You know, these guys are pretty representative of like so many players that are out there right now. A talent coming from an unlikely source.
So is it fair to say this book is kind of a snapshot of a moment in time?
Completely, yeah. And also, it's probably a pretty good how to rebuild your franchise. It could probably sell it to about 15 NHL GMs right now.
Let's talk about that rebuilding, though, because Maple Leaf Brass told us that it was going to be a hard, painful journey to develop these young players.
Which era are we talking about? Yeah. This era? Or the
We're talking this one. We're talking Babcock and Shanahan. They warned us. They warned Leafs faithful it's going to be a long haul here, and then they go make the playoffs last year.
Yeah, they lower the bar of expectations. That's professional self-preservation. But yeah, they did arrive ahead of schedule. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
So do you think their eyes are now concentrating more on the short term than the long term because of that?
I think last season makes them reassess their objectives for this year. You know, they would have, I think, they finished ahead of schedule last year in making the playoffs. Just simply making the playoffs this year won't be enough to satisfy where they think this team is at. Mm-hmm. The one thing everyone talks about, a sophomore slump, you know, that it's a lot tougher for players their second time around the league. We haven't seen that with Austin Matthews. Like, he's not slid back. And we haven't seen it with William Nylander. Mitch Marner's been a bit of a...
He's had a bit of a tough start to the season,
yes.
For sure. But let's talk about Matthews briefly, if we can, because
sure.
You mentioned this earlier. I mean, he's taken such a different route to the NHL, growing up in the Sun Belt of the U.S. and then going to Switzerland to kind of hone his craft. I mean, is he a product of the Gretzky era? Is that why he got onto hockey growing up in California and Arizona?
No, it's strange, but he's a product of the Phoenix Coyotes, now the Arizona Coyotes. That was his exposure. I mean, I guess Gretzky was coaching the team back then, or had an interest in the Coyotes at the time. But his development is, it's funny, he probably had more Russian training than he did traditional Canadian or American hockey training. He was working with a Russian expat in Arizona, who a lot of NHL players now are going to.
Don Cherry won't like that.
No.
Gare Joyce, thank you so much for coming in. The book is Young Leafs, the Making of a New Hockey History.
All right, appreciate it, Gare.